Hey there, I'm Barry. I'm the product manager here at FarmRaise. And today I wanted to take a couple minutes to show you how to run payroll through our system. So as you can see here, I'm on the FarmRaise dashboard. And up at the top here, you can see that I have a tab called Payroll. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And that is going to take me to my payroll dashboard. And this is where I'm going to be able to do everything like uh, update my employer information. So maybe I have a new bank account that I want to add, or I need to make some update to my business address, something like that. This is also where I can edit my worker information. So I can either edit some of my existing workers that I already have set up, or I can add a new worker if I'd like to. And then I also have a kind of a documents dashboard as well. So this is where important documents are going to live. I've got a couple of authorization forms that I've previously signed that live here. This is where your employees' W-2s and 1099s that we'll send out at the end of the year. You'll get a copy of those that live on this dashboard as well. You can also add your own documents if you have some type of important company document that you want to store. So that's where that would live. But for now, I'm going to go back to the dashboard and I'm going to show you how to actually run a payroll. So in this case, I've set up a company and I pay my workers biweekly, so every 2 weeks. My next pay date is coming up on September 27th, and that covers the pay period between September 8th and September 21st. So I'm going to go ahead and kick this off. And then once I do that, I'm going to be able to see my different employees that are part of that group and their associated pay methods. So Brian gets paid with a paper check. Clarissa gets paid over direct deposit. David also gets paid by a paper check. You can also see here I have a mix of both W-2 employees as well as 1099 contractors. So Brian and Clarissa are both employees. David is a contractor, so you can easily mix them in with a single payroll run if they all get paid on the same day. I can also choose to exclude one of these employees if I wanted to. So maybe Brian didn't work at all in this period, so I can just turn him off, and then I'll just be left with Clarissa and David. But I'm going to go ahead and turn Brian back on as well. Give that a second to refresh. And then essentially what I'm going to do when I'm ready to run payroll for the week, you'll see here we recommend that payroll is submitted by a certain time. So in this case, for the Friday, September 27th pay date, recommend submitting payroll by the 23rd, Monday the 23rd. The reason for that is that gives enough time to do the draw out of the bank account in order to pay and file the appropriate taxes for both federal and state, as well as make sure any employees that are getting paid by direct deposit can have that money drawn out of your account and then deposited into the employee's account so that it is there by the 27th on the actual pay date. So it's about a 4-day period there. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and put in the number of hours that each of them worked. So let's say Brian worked 18 hours in these 2 weeks. Clarissa worked 42 and a half. And let's say David worked 22 and a quarter. So you see I get a summary of my hourly, the number worked here, and then these are the gross pay. This is based on their pay rates that I've previously set up when I set them up as workers within my system. So they all get paid an hourly rate, and this is the gross pay. So I'm going to go ahead and click next here now that I've entered the hours, and then I'm going to get a summary of the pay rates as well as the taxes that are being deducted, as well as the taxes that are getting paid from my part as the owner of the company. So you see here, Brian, he gets a gross pay of 324. His net pay, the amount that he's actually going to receive, is 295.41. The reason is he got 28.59 deducted for taxes. My contribution is 29.97 for him. And I can actually see the details for each of the individual employees here as well. So if I click on the view details, I'll get essentially their pay stub. So I see he worked 18 hours. So this is the amount that he made for that period. This is the amount of the federal income taxes, the Social Security, Medicare, and then in my case, I'm in Wisconsin, so I pay Wisconsin state income tax. This is the amount that comes out of Brian's paycheck. And then down here at the bottom for some of those same categories or a couple of different categories, this is the amount that I'm contributing as his employer to these various line items. So I paid in Social Security, Medicare, federal unemployment tax, as well as Wisconsin unemployment tax. And then at the end, we get his net pay. So this is the amount that he will actually receive as pay. So assuming everything looks good there, I go ahead and submit payroll. If something would look off, maybe I typoed the amount of hours and Brian should have gotten a lot more than this, I can go back, I can correct it, and then I can come forward again. But I'm going to go ahead and submit payroll, and then you'll see um, all that I have to do here is for my 2 employees that I'm paying with a paper check. It tells me the exact amount that I owe to them, and to make sure that I pay them by the 27th, since I specified that as the pay date. It does say paper check here. It could be a paper check if if you prefer to pay, let's say, by cash, or even something like a Venmo or a PayPal or Zelle. Those are all options as well. Paper check is just kind of the default, but the important thing here is that you're actually issuing the payment. For my 1 employee who does get direct deposit, that's all taken care of behind the scenes. So we will transfer that money electronically into their account by that pay date as well. So I'm going to go ahead and click done. And again, I get a summary in case I close that window. I can see exactly who I need to pay with a paper check. I also get a summary at the top for this pay date. The total payroll was this amount. This is the date that the money is going to come out of my account as the employer to fund those, the tax line items that I mentioned, as well as the workers that I have getting paid by direct deposit. And then this is the amount that I'm going to see come out of my bank account on that day in order to fund those things. Again, if something doesn't look right, I can always cancel it. I can start over. But to me, everything looks good, so I'm going to click done. You'll see when I do that, I get a history here. So at the bottom, I can see for that period the exact, the pay amount and the period that it covers. I can look at details and see, very similar to what I just saw on a previous screen, the amounts for each of the individual employees. And then you'll see it also queued up my next payroll run for me. So for my pay period of 9/22 to 10/5, I have a pay date of October 11th. So kind of queues everything up nicely for me, and then that'll just continue. So when I'm ready to start running payroll for October 11th, which should be about, like I said earlier, about 4 days beforehand. So we'll see that date here in a second. I can go ahead, I can run. That's Monday, October 7th. So I can go ahead and run that, do the same thing all over again, and basically every pay period, that's what I do. So really only takes, 5 minutes or so, as long as you have the employee work information, and that's all there is to it. Thanks for watching. I appreciate your time.